Welcome to the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, where you will learn top strategies from world-class real estate investors, both large and small. Why not? Tune in and get started today.
I'd say the hurdle is just the, shiny object syndrome. Because, there's too many distractions. You get successful one thing, you think you can do everything. Then I invested in a trucking company. I started a trucking company. We had a semi and trailers and trucks and lost a bunch of money in that. So the hurdles are just staying focused on what makes you money and not thinking that you've got like the Midas touch. We've overcome some crazy deals. 19-unit apartment complex. It took me 5 years to renovate this building. It was way different than residential. Now you need commercial contractors, contractors, right. Foundation repairs, roof repairs, heavy, major mechanical. You got to make sure your plumbing lines are heated underneath the building. It's like, holy cow. So there's been a lot. There's been several.
Hey, what's up, all of my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier of the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, and we're here with another episode of our Blue Interviews, where we'll find a seasoned or maybe sometimes beginner real estate entrepreneur or professional. So we have something a little different today. We haven't had anything like this on the show today. Our guest today, as an Army officer with over 8 years of service, our guest was spending a great deal of his time away from his family, and he knew he needed to make some changes in order to be more present with his wife and children. His interest in real estate began in 2007 when he purchased his first home. So he began exploring real estate investing as a way to support his family while being able to enjoy more time with them as well. In a short amount of time, our guest was able to expand his business, hire a team, and most importantly, spend quality time with his family while still working hard and helping others. While he invests in many different types of real estate, his favorite investment strategy deals today deal with buying and selling vacant land. And we've not had anyone on the show doing this yet, so I'm kind of excited to find out what I'm going to learn. He also enjoys sharing his expertise in this area with his coaching clients. Today's guest chooses to live his life based on Bob Burg's quote, "Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first." That's very good. He is passionate about helping other people find success in real estate investing, particularly in land investments. Ladies and gentlemen, all of my real estate peeps, it is my pleasure to welcome to the show, brace yourself, the CEO of Zek Buys Houses LLC, as well as Vacant Land of the Free, Discounted Houses Colorado Springs, Rent to Own Colorado, and co-working and shared spaces. All are under the umbrella of Zek Buys Houses brand. Ladies and gentlemen, my real estate peeps, my pleasure to welcome to the show, Mr. Brent Bowers. Brent, welcome to the show.
Brian, I think that was like the best intro I've ever had. I don't know if anybody cares about any of that, but that's incredible. I appreciate you saying all that. I'm honored to be on here, man. You've been in real estate since 2000. I've been practicing real estate since 2007. I guess I started learning about it in 2004 when I was reading Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. But no, I'm still a student. My most exciting thing is the land sharks and the community that we've built with other land investors. I learn from them every single day. But yeah, I'm just a land investor. I just buy and sell land. I'm about to go to career day and talk to my 9-year-old, his classroom. I don't know how I'm going to make that interesting for these kids, but it's just we buy vacant land for cheap and we just sell it for what it's worth on payments. It's like having a rental.
Well, I'm glad you're here because I've got an idea for you. Land sharks. I'm dating myself here, but this goes all the way back to Saturday Night Live, John Belushi.
Oh, yeah.
Who's there? Land shark. So you could do that with the kids, right?
Oh yeah,
You could do the land
that's
shark.
incredible. I love that. Yeah, the most dangerous creature that walks the earth is a land shark. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean, you could
awesome.
have some fun with that and, draw them in and, take a bite out of it. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Literally.
Yeah, no problem, no
Excuse me.
problem. So, yeah, so we're going to talk about land today, and I've never done that. I mean, I think once in my 20 plus years of doing this, I had a lunch with this one guy who was buying lots, and he was explaining to me. It's like it was a little bit out of my wheelhouse. So I'm looking forward to what we're going to be able to do with you here today.
I'm
And
sure I'll make it even simpler. I came from a cattle town. I barely graduated high school, so I think I can make it pretty easy for anybody to understand if I can do it.
well, you have a great segue here because let's just roll it out here. Our first question is, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you used to do before you got into
Yeah.
real estate?
So before real estate, 2007, I had a lawn service. I graduated high school in 2004, but I got my real estate license in 2007 because I wanted to be an investor. Well, I bought that first investment property in 2007, and then 2008 and 2009 was happening, and I got it between my ears that I wasn't going to be successful because I saw all these people getting out of the business. So between our ears is pretty powerful. So I pretty much became a quitter and joined the military in 2009 and served until 2018. I did a couple deployments to Afghanistan, but I still had that burning desire to be an entrepreneur, to be a business person, to own my own business. I've always been entrepreneurial, and I did not want to keep deploying and keep going out in the field. Like my son was 1 year old in early 2017, and I'd only seen him a couple months out of his life. And we're about to have another baby. My wife's like super upset because I'm always gone. And I was like, I can't keep living life like this. We're barely getting by, and I'm always gone. So like that's no way to raise children. And I'd already been through one divorce on my second deployment. So I was like, I don't need a second divorce. Like that was the worst thing ever. So I started, I had been buying rentals over the years, but I never could have left. I had 8 doors at that time. I never could have, this was 2016 timeframe. I never could have left my Army job with my rental income. Honestly, my Army job, any discretionary income I had went to the rentals. There was no room for living off of those things. And these were fixer-uppers. I was evicting tenants, you name it. So I was kind of learning through the gutter there. And I got into wholesaling houses for a little while in Colorado Springs while I was stationed at Fort Carson. But here's the thing, you could send a lot of mailers, spend a lot of money on postcards, but you got to go and see the sellers. You got to sit on the couch and talk to them and talk them into selling their house they raised their children in for 18 years, and they're told the entire time your house is the biggest investment. So you got to be a really good talker, really good salesperson to convince someone to sell you their house at a discount to be able to assign your contract to a cash buyer, which it's doable, but that takes time, and I didn't have time. And I also didn't have money because I was working 13 hours a day for the military, didn't have money because I was in debt from the other rentals. And I was listening to podcasts just like this, like Why Not Real Estate? And I heard a guy in 2016 talking about vacant raw land, buying this stuff for cheap and selling it like the next day and doubling his money. And I was like, if half of what he just said was true, this is what's going to allow me lifestyle freedom, financial freedom, because I only need to make like $5,000 a month. And I immediately took action. I started mailing landowners, and I did some land deals. And a couple years later, I got out of the military. I was earning about 15 grand a month just in payments. It was like having all these rentals, but I never had to fix anything because it's land. Nothing breaks.
Wow. So what you would first describe sounds like a subject to type of scenario. You would take it on the deed subject to and wholesaling it to somebody else.
What, talking about wholesaling houses?
Yeah, when you have to go to the couch and actually talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was getting the contract. I was getting the house under contract. I would get the house under contract, and I was building a cash buyers list, and I had a bunch of cash buyers, and I would email them the contract and the pictures and say, hey, I'll sell you this house for $175. And it worked for a little while in that market because it was going up in Colorado Springs. And I had the contract for, 165 and the house was worth 200. So I had it under contract for a deal and the cash buyer was getting the deal. But the hardest thing about that was spending the time with the sellers. Like I would try and do this on my lunch break and I had 35 minutes. It wasn't doable.
Yeah, so it wasn't really subject to. This sounds like a wholesale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Subject to, I bought some subject to houses. I'm actually selling them off right now. Some of the houses where it was like, this is not really a deal, but you got a 2% interest rate. I'll buy it from you for what you owe on the mortgage. And I've rented them out for several years, did cost segregation on them, got the tax incentive, lowered my tax bill. But now I'm 1031ing most of those houses because the houses are a pain in the butt, honestly. We're listing one. That's another podcast, honestly. I got about 12 houses I'm selling right now. I'm trying to get out of the house business.
So, what other influences did you have? I mean, you mentioned you were in the military and you started doing real estate, but were there any other influences while you were growing up or somebody else who may have inspired you to say, hey, real estate could be something?
I don't know what initially got me inspired with the real estate. I started in the lawn service in sixth grade. I always wanted to make money. I wanted to have a four-wheeler, and I knew I was going to have to buy that thing if I wanted to get something like that. So I don't know where the passion of real estate came from, but I knew that I wanted to be, a business owner one day and not be someone that just builds a business for somebody else.
And you'd mentioned the podcast for Raw Land, and before that, there was a book. What was that book?
The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump.
Art of the Deal. Right
Now
over there
it'd
on
be,
my
I guess,
bookshelf with
considered.
his other books. He wrote one with Dave Lindahl
Oh
sometime.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I was reading this stuff in middle school. You know.
Oh, there it is. One of my favorite stories out of the Art of the Deal, he was doing some project in New York and he didn't have his permits in yet, but he had all these insurance companies coming in to be investors in the deal. So he literally just paid the guys to take this pile of dirt and move it over here and then just keep moving the dirt back and forth. And he had the place covered with contractors just moving dirt around. He couldn't do anything because he didn't have permits yet. But the impression to these investors, wow, there's so much going on here. Invest in your deal. So
I love
it
that.
was the perception of, wow, we're really doing a lot here. You should jump in
Yeah.
now. So yeah, that was a really good book. I enjoyed that one. As you can tell, I like to read. My,
Yeah.
my previous setup, I had all my books behind me. We moved 2 buildings down on the beach here. So my books are spread out all over the place.
Yeah. Leaders are readers. I read 10 pages a day. Right now, I'm working on the Bible cover to cover. I'm trying to get 10 pages a day in it.
Yep.
Sometimes that's a lot.
Proverbs has some of the best business advice available. And then I always liked Ecclesiastes because Solomon was no dummy.
Oh my goodness, yes. The
Yeah.
wisdom of Solomon.
So you mentioned this podcast. The guy came on Vacant Land. You're probably listening to a lot of different types of podcasts. But do you recall what the Vacant Land podcast was? Who that was?
I have no idea what podcast it was, but I know it was Mark Podolsky was the name of the guy, and I ended up hiring him in 2000. Well, I did a bunch of land deals, and I started making money. And then I was like, I'm gonna hire this guy. Maybe I can make even more money to learn more of his tricks. And then I took some other courses. I am just a sponge of knowledge as well. I'm always taking courses, and I'm in a course right now I was doing right before this podcast. But yeah, I mean, it's just what's really cool about land. I think it's one of the oldest businesses, and it came before multifamily. Because what do you need to build multifamily on?
Well, there's an old landlord joke, and I'll share it with you here. What's the oldest profession on the planet?
I don't know if is this a rated PG podcast or
Well,
no?
we both know what the answer is, right? But actually, it was landlord because she needed to rent a room.
Oh, there you go. I love
There it
that.
is, landlord joke, right? So, okay, so you like to educate yourself, listening to podcasts, Art of the Deal. You were building this fire up. You got the fire in the belly. You took action in 2007, went to the military. Again, thank you for your service there. I really appreciate that. And I've said this before on shows, so many people won't stand behind our military while they do their job. I suggest they stand in front of them while they do their job.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
Wow.
an eye-opener?
Yeah, it would.
So here we are. So now you get the ball rolling. You're doing land. 2007. I gotta do a little bit of math here. So 18 years from when you started. So here you are, Brent. 18 years experience. Okay, a little hiatus. Being a landlord, wholesaling, serving our country. Again, thank you for that. So if you could go back in time, I really love this question. It's got two parts to it. So if you could go back and tap yourself on the shoulder 18 years ago, what advice would you have given yourself back then? And then here we are present day, someone seeing this for the first time. What advice would you have for that newbie who's starting out today? So we'll start with you.
Yeah.
If you could tap
Yeah.
yourself on the shoulder, what would you tell you?
Well, the advice would be, I mean, I excelled very quickly in the military because I put my whole heart and soul into it. But the advice would be, that 3 years I was in Germany and I was renting a house in Germany, I was paying, I did the math. I roughly paid 42,000 US dollars to rent a house in Germany. So the advice would have been every year, buy, another rental property or a piece of land. I didn't know about land deals back then, but the advice would have been to not take the time off from 2009 to 2013. So 4 years. 4 years I could have been in buy mode. I think you should always be dollar cost averaging with real estate. Right now the way I look at it, I'm 39 years old. So I'm going to be dollar cost averaging, AKA buying every year some type of investment. So I take land money and I buy more investments with it, more cash flowing real estate. I prefer commercial, light industrial, triple net leases, because there's nothing better than collecting money on a piece of vacant land for 30 years. But you got to put that money somewhere, because you're going to get taxed on almost 40 cents on the dollar, or depending on what tax rate you're on. So I put it into more cash flowing real estate and ultimately pay no taxes. And I'm not cheating the system. I'm just doing what the tax code says I could do.
Right.
I'm all for paying taxes. Like, someone's got to, keep those B-52 bombers in the air. But here's what I'm getting at is you should always be buying. So if I'm 39, and if I look at everything that's going to pay off in 30 years, which I like to do 15-year mortgages now, but if everything pays off in 30 years, 49, 59, 69, by the time I'm 69 years old, the minimum I can have is 30 properties, 30 additional properties than what I've got right now, earning income, and a lot of those are going to be paid for. So the advice I would have gave myself back then, the 27-year-old Brent, was, okay, you're taking a little break from real estate. You got an income now. Use that credit and use that W-2 income to keep buying or keep doing something with it. Because I completely shut it off for 4 years. I just had that one rental until I bought another one in 2013. So I should have stayed active. Always, there's, what do they say? You can be on the sidelines, or you could be in the game, hoping the ball doesn't get past to you, or you could be the MVP and you can just be going for the ball all the time, or you could be that guy that doesn't even buy a ticket and he's sitting at home. So which guy do you want to be?
Good stuff. So you mentioned commercial light industrial. A couple weeks back, maybe a month or so ago, we had Benjamin Carmona on. He's from California. He introduced something to me I'd never heard about, Delaware statutory trusts, where you can 1031 into a trust, which is like a REIT that invests into a blend of portfolios, any of what you're looking at. and that's a hands-off type of deal. So, you can check him out from a previous show if you get to
Yeah.
the point. Because 1031s can be a little tricky with the time frame. You got to locate in so many days, sell in so many days, where these trusts are just set up and you can like buy shares of it.
I love
So
that. Yeah.
you don't
I
have
just sold
to,
one the other day. I
yeah.
don't even have a property picked out yet, so I gotta get moving.
Well, there it is. So yeah, he might be someone you could check out. 39 years old. My God, I started when I was 38, and your projection of what'd you say, 67 years old? You're going to get there a lot sooner than you anticipate.
That's
Because,
crazy.
we were doing that. We were buying small apartment buildings for about 5 or 6 years. And this was way before bigger pockets and the Burr method or anything like that. I was calling it milk money because
Milk money.
you take the cash cow, you milk the cow, bring the milk to the market, you refinance, cash out, buy a new calf, fatten up the calf, milk it again, and just do that. We started with one, cashed out twice, got three, cashed out all three of those again, ended up with five. And this was within a year and a half, we broke the $1.2 million barrier, and I never looked back from there. We just found a
Amazing.
system that worked. And
Yeah.
we escalated and scaled faster than I thought we would. So 67 years old, you're going to blow, you're going to blow that number out of the water. I think you're going to hit there by 42, actually.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? It's like we've got the passive income already covering our bills with the land. So we're having fun. We got time freedom. We can do that. We got the geography freedom like you do as well. You're in Aruba, which is really cool. But that's after you hit the financial freedom, now you have the time freedom, and then you can have the geography freedom. I didn't get into this business to get rich. Mo money, mo problems. And that's absolutely true, by the way. I think for me anyways, I have an executive assistant or office manager. She's just taking care of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But, it's like you can build slowly. And I'm at that point right now. I'm not in a sprint. It's just a marathon. I told one of our land sharks this morning, he's like, I got to get busy. And I was like, buddy, it's just a little bit every day. It's like going to the gym. You got to just go every day,
Yeah.
5-6 days a week.
Yeah, it's a compound effect, and I write that in my journal. It's like, gee, I didn't get six-pack abs today. No, it doesn't happen like that. You got to do that workout, then the next, then the next, then the next, and then months time you put in compounds like anything else. You go to the gym or you invest in real estate or you educate yourself to the point where you are the land shark, right? All this stuff. So that would have been your advice for you, the dollar cost averaging, keep buying. You project your numbers out, which I think you're conservative, and that's fine. So is that the same advice you would give to the newbie today?
To the person today, I would say, keep your day job and figure out how to, start with making maybe just double your income. If you're making $5,000 a month right now, figure out what to do to make an additional 5K. I would say, hey, go out there and take, a few $100s a week and make offers to landowners. And, so I could back up from the whole step. So my first land deal I bought was $285. How did I get it? I was mailing the tax delinquent list with the county of El Paso County, Colorado, and in Colorado Springs. And I mailed the tax delinquent list. It was actually the county held tax lien list. This was inefficient property, not buildable, not accessible, landlocked garbage that no one was even paying the back taxes on.
Oh, wow.
But one man's trash is another man's treasure. My son found a surfboard in the trash the other day. It was a lost board. It's called Lost Surfboard. If anybody knows what surfboards are, they're missing some fins, and it's like we looked it up. It's going to cost $100 to fix it and get it on the water. Well, my buddy comes over and he's like, buddy, I'll give you $50 for that board. And mom said no. And I came home and I heard about it. I was like, why'd you say no? He could have made $50. Like he found it in the trash. Anyhow, I don't know why we didn't talk about it after that. But then my buddy texted me again. He said, hey, if he wants to trade that board to me, I'll give him this board. and he can get right on the water. All you got to do is buy a leash. A leash is $16. So my 9-year-old son found trash that someone was throwing away and now has a working surfboard that you can sell for like $150. So that's all I was doing with the land. Bought it for $285, sold it to a realtor for $5,000. And I kept doing that. And then I started seller financing them. And then the first one was $500 or $400 a month. That covered my truck payment. And before I knew it, I just kept, then I got the baby, the diaper bill covered, and the electric bill, and the water bill, and the gas bill, and eventually I covered my mortgage. And before we knew it, we were making almost $4,700 a month, and that was all of our expenses. And now I had some money to play with, so it just kept growing. So that's what I recommend people do. Is just I doubled my income, and it was with vacant raw land that was net coming in every month. So it's easily done. Just pick a market. And people can pick a market, see where land's selling, price it out, price that market out, and then pull a list of landowners in that area that you just priced out. And let's just say you see the average price per acre is, I don't know, $1,000. Well, offer them $860 an acre, and on 10 acres you got some room for play there. That's it. You're just getting that at a discount, wholesale.
Smart on the numbers. Interesting. Yeah, I'm a multifamily guy. At this point, I've got so many, like I'm probably going to forget more about multifamily than some people will ever learn, but that's okay. I mean, I'm into where I am. As you age, your risk level changes, right? So I'm more to the point where I'm going to invest in deals. I've already done my tile jobs, my rehab, stuff like that. I got crews that do that. So I can be barefoot and talk to people like you, right?
Yeah, man. I'm barefoot too right now. I actually have socks on, which is, I don't really like to wear socks too often, but I think it's better that we go barefooted. It kind of grounds us to the energy.
Yeah, I had an investor, he's been on the show before, but he called me up out of the blue, and he's expanding into the area where we are, and we were talking about possibly doing some deals. I says, I have only one stipulation. He says, what's that? I says, that I don't have to wear shoes. He says, okay. And that was it. So, we'll see where that goes. So really good advice for yourself. You would have kept buying, dollar cost averaging. For that newbie, double your income. And, there's so many flavors of ice cream in real estate. I don't even know how many different topics we've had on the show. So you're kind of bringing land onto the picture. And what do they say? Buy land, they're not making any more of it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So the next part of this, Mr. Land Shark, I'm going to ask for a little bit of a deep dive. You like the way I put that together there? What was the best deal you'd ever done? What type of property was it? Doesn't have to be a property, could have been land. How did you find it? And how did you finance it?
It's always the deal I did yesterday because that's the one top of mind, but I'll give you another one. I already told you about the first one for $285. I want to talk about the second one, actually. It's not a big, it's not a massive deal, but this is the one that changed my life, I think. So that second parcel of land I bought for $500, not accessible, landlocked by State Park, Colorado State Park. So I bought the land for $500 and I signed the deed on the lady's porch. Actually, she handed me over the signed deed and I handed her a $500 check and she's like, I don't know what you're going to do with this godforsaken land. And I remember her porch at that time. Actually, her porch is bigger than my house now. So this lady was wealthy, just getting rid of this land. Her husband was a stockbroker. He bought it a long time ago. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. But I'd already taken photos of it, looked at it. But I went home that night after I got that deed from her. She lived near Denver, Colorado. And this land was in Colorado Springs, just south of NORAD, where they track Santa Claus, next to the Cheyenne Mountain State Park.
Yep.
But very valuable land, just not accessible, landlocked. So I put it on Craigslist. It's almost 4.5 acres. I had a buyer the next day that wanted to pay me. I didn't know what it was worth. I didn't know what I was doing back then. It was 2016. A lot of my house real estate knowledge just went out the window. I was just trying to hustle basically. So I put it online for $500 down. So I got my money back out of the deal, and $400 a month for a total of $5,000. But that one was the one that gave me the paradigm shift. It's giving me $400 a month now, and that's covering my truck payment. And something inside of me, like a light bulb went off, and I was like, I got rentals. I'm netting $300-400 a month for these rentals, but something always breaks. Septic system, roof, water heater, you name it. And I never get to keep that money. So I'm not profitable on any of my rentals ever until, they're paid off or I sell them. Then I got to pay taxes on that money. But that one was the one that broke my brain. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this until I cover all my expenses. And then I got carried away. Then I just started doing more and more and more. So I'd say that's the best deal because that was like the second one. And that's the one where it kind of all stemmed for me.
So it was 4 acres, which was landlocked. Does that mean there were other plots of land around it that you couldn't get to it?
Yeah, the state park had a big majority of it, and then there was some other private landowners. There's a road that kind of dead-ended, and I had to go across like 2 other parcels of land. So Colorado, technically, they can't landlock you. You can legally fight for access to that, but I didn't. I heard attorney, and I was like, I don't have money to pay an attorney right now. So I basically just took my money and let that guy figure it out.
Okay. So 4 acres of land. How did you find this deal? Was this a mailing campaign?
Yeah, this was on the first 687 postcards I sent. If anybody wants a copy of the postcard, they can get it thelandsharks.com/postcard. It was a handwritten postcard that I was mailing the county held tax lien list. This is a list of county held tax liens that no one paid the back taxes on this land. So my phone exploded. These people were like, yeah, take the land, whatever, keep it. Just pay the back taxes, it's yours. So that's pretty much what I was doing. So that's how I found it. I sent this bunch of postcards out, 687 to be exact, and I got several deals off of it. The third deal was from a bank. I got that one under contract for $25,000. The bank didn't pay the taxes. And I kept offering $20,000. We went back and forth for like a month. And this was 44 acres next to Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado Springs.
Oh my God.
This land is worth millions, like a bunch of money now. This is in 2016 though. I didn't have $25,000 though, Brian. Like I didn't know. I was like, oh my God. I was freaking out too because it was a bank, and the banker's like, listen, you can send me a contract today for $25,000 or don't ever call me again. So I was like, all right, yes sir. And I got him. He signed it via DocuSign. I did this all from my government computer in the military. I hope that doesn't get me in trouble. But I went out there that Saturday morning because this was a Friday. I didn't sleep that night because I was like, I don't have $25,000 to buy it. These guys are going to sue me if I don't buy it. But I had 30 days to assign my contract.
There it is.
So I got this thing under contract, and I went out there and I had a bunch of yellow signs. I went to Home Depot and I made these signs. I posted them. I put 44 acres, must sell, 38K, my phone number. And I had 33 of those things in the back of my 2007 Honda Civic. And I put every one of them out. I got 2 calls. One person cussed me out for putting a sign on their land. The second call was a Texas rancher. He said, I just sold my ranch in Texas. Where are you at? I was like, I'm driving around putting out signs. He said, where's this land at? So I said, it's right here. I sent him a pin, Google Maps, and we met there. We shook hands. Then I had to go to the field on Monday with the Army to train. And I kept getting calls. Calls were higher offers because this land was worth like $150,000. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I should have consulted a realtor or looked at comps, but I didn't know what I was doing back then. I'm getting offers like $20,000 higher, $14,000 higher. So I called this Texan and I said, hey, I know we shook hands, but can I pay you $7,000 just to walk away from this? He goes, no, I want the land. I was like, oh, hey, dang it, I'm getting higher offers. He said, we shook hands on it. I said, you're right. So I ate it, and I still made $13,000, but I'm glad I did that today. Like looking back, extra $10,000 in my pocket, $20,000 was not worth my word. So
There it is. Yeah. That was a good story. Yeah, I mean, you don't always make a killing on every deal, but if you can sleep better at night and you know you did your best, that's worth something too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not all of my deals were roses. Some of it,
There was a few thorns.
uh, fertilizer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just lost money on my first land deal in Texas for the first time ever, and that was a big nasty pill to swallow. So it happens, you do 300 plus deals, like you're going to lose money on something.
But I mean, real estate is a slow moving train. You've got time to correct, you've got time to hit the brakes. You can get on the track, off the track. What was it? I was reading Psychology of Money, and he's talking about these Silicon Valley, these, what do you call them? The VCs, they invest, right?
Hmm.
They'll like invest in 100 type of startups. Five of them will work, they'll make money. And like 95 of them, they'll just like write a check and never see a dime back.
Wow.
But the five good ones cover the losses on the 95%. So it's a numbers game for these venture capitalists, right?
Yeah.
That don't happen in real estate. I mean, you're looking at the table the other way.
Yeah, I want 95 profitable deals and maybe five over a lifetime that aren't.
Yeah. I mean, is that going to put you out of the game? Absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, I've had deals that, weren't the sweetest deal when I had to walk away, but it is what it is. You move on, right?
Yeah, time is on your side usually with real estate. It really is. Just wait it out. Get a little creative. There's been some things where sometimes we just get lucky too. I mean, there's always a buyer for every deal. I think there's always a buyer for every land deal too.
Well, you mentioned luck, and I know in the art of the deal, I think Trump says luck is where skill and preparation meet.
That's right.
So you'd already educated yourself. You were in the game. You were set up. You were doing what you needed to do. So, luck was because you did all the hard work and you pulled the trigger on the opportunity, right? That 44 acres. You didn't have the money, but you had the time and you had an idea. And sometimes that is what you need to get through to the other side. And, 13 grand later, I mean, how long did that deal take you? A week?
Yeah, about a week.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
13 grand in a week. That's a pretty good
And I
paycheck.
might have had 2 hour, well, 2 hours putting the signs out, another hour to make the signs, another hour back and forth with a banker, 4 hours total.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 3 grand an hour. That's not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like
It's
brain
yeah.
surgeon money.
Well, I was about to say it's more than the surgeon next door that makes. He makes like by the time after he gets taxed, I don't even think he's making $500 an hour.
Yeah. And I don't think you're buying medical disability insurance or lawsuit malpractice, anything like that either. So,
No.
what's the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome as an investor, and how did you solve it?
I'd say the hurdle is just the how do I say it? Shiny object syndrome. Because, there's too many distractions. You get successful in one thing, you think you can do everything. Then I invested in a trucking company. I started a trucking company. We had a semi and trailers and trucks and lost a bunch of money in that. So the hurdles are just staying focused on what makes you money and not thinking that you've got like the Midas touch. Yeah, we've got overcome some crazy deals. 19-unit apartment complex. It took me 5 years to renovate this building. It was way different than residential. Now you need commercial contractors, contractors,
Right.
foundation repairs, roof repairs, heavy major mechanical. You got to make sure your plumbing lines are heated underneath the building. It's like holy cow! So there's been a lot. There's been several.
That deal actually sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, we could talk about that later. Maybe you'll want to buy it from us. But yeah, in that 5 years, Colorado Springs built a bunch of brand new apartments, like state of the art type stuff.
Right.
And my 1968, multifamily, like, we got to almost beg people to rent them. They're fully renovated, but then the interest rates went up. So it's like there's always something. But I can't look at the few things that lose us money. You got to look at all the things that make you money.
So, what city is it in?
Colorado Springs.
I might be interested. We can talk later.
All right.
Yeah, my brother lives in Longmont.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, that's a destination I could go visit my brother, write it off as real estate travel, and take care of the property at the same time.
Oh man, Colorado's the greatest too. You could ski until the end of April. We missed the ski season out there this year, but
Winter Park, right?
yeah, right now they're doing a Copperhead. They pretty much usually have snow until the end of April.
You stayed focused on what you knew.
Yeah, you just got to refocus, constantly refocusing. I'm not saying I stayed focused, but get to refocus back to what's making you the money, because it gets boring. It's like, oh, I can start this. I think too many people find success in one area and they stop doing it.
I equate this to the ocean, right? I mean, your market changes all the time. You want to get from point A to point B, but you've got wind blowing you off course. You've got current blowing you off course. You may have a leak in the boat. I mean, all these things happen. So just like a ship on the ocean, it is never a straight line. It's always a constant course correction.
Yes.
And if you just like set that, it's like, okay, this is not, I'm not going to end up stranded on a desert island. I'm just going to pivot 3, 4, 5 degrees, get back on course, and pick up the wind and get to where I need to be.
That's right.
So back to the beginning, you mentioned a couple of podcasts. You mentioned Art of the Deal, and that might be your answer here, but I'm going to jump in. Was there a book in your investing career that had the biggest impact on you as a real estate investor?
I still think The Wealthy Gardener is my favorite real estate book. It's just a beautiful story.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, it's the best real estate book there ever was.
Do you know who wrote that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'll be
The
able to
Wealthy
look it up.
Gardener.
The
Yeah,
Wealth-
The Wealthy Gardener. It's about a man that he's a chiropractor and he just continued buying real estate, and it's a beautiful story.
Excellent. I'm going to have to get that one on my shelf. Sounds like a good beach read.
Oh yeah.
Could you elaborate a little on the book? What was some of the lessons from it?
Yeah, I mean, some of the lessons is just he treat it like a garden. You're always cultivating it. You got to pull out the weeds, and you got the good times and the bad times, and it's just about continuing to buy. It's really the dollar cost averaging in other words. I don't want to give it away, but it's a beautiful story. It's it's very well told. I loved listening to it on Audible actually. Just the guy that read it was just awesome.
Audible, for sure. And yeah, no spoiler alert here. We'll leave that one alone.
Nope, I left it untouched. I need to go back to it because I read it years ago, probably 5 years ago now, and I still think that's the best one ever.
Is there a second book that had an impact on you as a real estate investor?
There's a great Florida book. It's called A Land Remembered. We read it in high school, and then I've read it a few times since. But it's historical fiction. It's about a family called the McIvies that come from, they escaped the Civil War in Georgia, and they come down to Florida and darn near starved to death. And basically they started popping cattle out of the swamps and then turned it into orange groves, and eventually became in real estate by the third generation. Like they own all of Miami Beach.
Oh my God.
It's historical fiction, but they talk about a lot of the names in Florida you've heard of. And I tell my kids, it's like, at one time Florida was all swamps and marshes and woods and alligators, and you could not have walked across the state of Florida, back in the day. And it's different. It's amazing to see what these pioneers went through.
Wow. Wow, you've given me 2 books that I've not heard of before. I'll definitely, I'll check those out. I just got back here from Los Angeles, so I
Yeah.
had one trip to a bookstore with my granddaughter.
Oh, it's such an amazing experience. Smells good.
I had to just walk away. It's like, no, no books this time. I've got too many I haven't read yet.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the bookshelf right here, and there's some I want to read again, and I see that some I haven't actually read. But yeah, Patrick Smith wrote the A Land Remembered. He actually just passed away. I think it was in 2014, not too long ago actually. But yeah, his my one of my college professors was friends with him. So the author actually.
So here's where I ask you, what's next for you and why not get started today? But most people are already started.
Ah, man, what is next? I am doing so much. I started taking Fridays off. I race four-wheelers. I'm doing 75 hard right now. I next for me is really here's what's next for me, and I'm doing it already. Started this. I've been a lukewarm Christian for so many years now, and you know what Jesus says about lukewarm water, you spit it out. So I'm really, focusing on being closer to Christ and being able to share the love that Christ shared for us. So it's been now where I want to focus on my spiritual walk. So I put a lot of time and effort in. I said at the beginning of this podcast, shooting for reading the entire Bible from cover to cover. I think I've read the whole Bible before, but I've jumped around. Over 39 years, I think I've read the whole thing, I hope. But, I'm just working on that. That's what I'm working on right now.
So here's the curveball question that was not in your script that I sent over. I always enjoy this question because I never know where it's going to go. On today's podcast here, what's the question I should have asked you that
Oh,
I
I hate
didn't?
this question. I absolutely hate this question. And I don't know why I hate it because I had no clue. What should you have asked me? I have no idea. And when people tell me I don't know, I say, well, if you did know, what would it be? Oh man, I want to try. Like, where am I traveling to next?
All
I don't
right.
know, Aruba, or Costa Rica.
Well, if you come down to Aruba, rumor has it that there's a real estate investor down here, and you could probably write off the trip.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Is there surfing down there?
Windsurfing, kite surfing. I think
Oh,
yeah, it is very windy here. I think they have the international kite surfing. It's either late July, early August, something like that.
that sounds good.
Right from here, we can just see scores of these, windsurfing boards going by.
That's so cool.
And they race. So it's 3 days of racing, and they got those wild parties on the beach and reggae music, island music, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm getting a little old for that. I can stay up till maybe 9, 10 o'clock, but
Sounds
yeah,
like a tough life.
yeah, and,
Sounds tough.
it's starting to be turtle season now. So on the beaches, you'll see the red and white barriers up to protect the turtle nests. So now 90 days out, all the way throughout the summer. Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy being here, and I still get to participate in my business and stay involved. And today I learned about land. That was kind of fun. So where else do you want to travel?
We love Costa Rica, Colorado. We were in Europe several months ago, so I try and go everywhere I can. It's where not. Next is I also want to go to Japan. I've never been there, so we enjoy traveling.
Interesting, interesting. Well, definitely real estate will be a vehicle that will help you do that.
Yeah, it has.
Here's a little secret. Every place that you just mentioned, there's real estate there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, go there, look at a few properties. Oh, I guess it didn't work out. And now you get to write it off legally, right?
That's right. That's right.
because you can invest all over the place. We had this one guy on once. He was investing in London, the United States, and Hawaii. So he was in 3 different time zones, but covered like 12 time zones, some crazy thing like that. And he gets to travel all the time, and it's always a write-off legally, right?
Yeah. Best business ever.
I think so. And to pull it full circle, she needed to rent a room.
Didn't.
Put on bumps.
Well, thanks for having me on today, Brian. This has been incredible.
Well, this is a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to get you back on the show. If any of our listeners wanted to get in touch with you or maybe find out more about land investing, or I know you have a coaching program, how should our listeners get in touch with you today?
Yeah, head on over to the Land Sharks, sharks is plural.com, thelandsharks.com. You can schedule a call right there. Maybe you want to ask some questions or just talk real estate strategy. I'd love to point you in the right direction. I'll be the one that reaches out. And sometimes I think it'll let you actually book a spot right on my calendar as well. Thelandsharks.com.
Excellent, excellent. Anything else you want to share with our listeners before we wrap this up?
No, have a great day. Take action. Just absolutely take action. There's so many ways to make a fortune in real estate. I believe land's the easiest. But you do multifamily as well. People are always going to need affordable housing. Always.
Beautiful, beautiful. Brent Bowers, my guest today. Thank you so much for being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, all my real estate peeps, we're wrapping up another show. This is Brian Lucier from the Why Not Real Estate Podcast signing off, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a great day.